Hey everybody, and welcome back. I just wanted to do some commentary, final thoughts for the most recent 2-hour speed build that we put together during the live Cities in a Snap competition that we do on Twitch, maybe once a month. And this is the fourth time the event has taken place. This is the third time that I've participated in it. And I think this city here is by far the best that I've been able to build within the 2-hour time frame. So this is 2 hours. This is using, unlimited money, all unlocks, things like that. Otherwise, I don't think something like this would actually be physically possible in a 2-hour time slot. But it's actually kind of surprising how like decently the city's actually functioning. The last city that we made was very much non-functional. This city is significantly larger and also functioning. Yeah, it's like I don't know how we did this, and I think that's because previously in the first two times that, and we have videos of what we did in the first two builds, we spent a lot of time terraforming and sculpting the map, and this time we just kind of went with the flow. It was a little bit more our style, to be honest, going with the flow, but essentially going with the flow allowed us to kind of achieve a larger amount of construction. So actually we're gonna have to check at the end how many tiles this actually ended up being. But this is basically our city here, right? So we're actually playing on the Wolf Creek map that comes with the campus. But we didn't know what map we are going to be playing on until not even 15 minutes. It was literally like 5 minutes before, because we actually ended up switching maps. We ended up switching maps at the last second because we're getting technical issues with one of the downloaded ones. So, but we have basically, I just wanted to do sort of a grid neighborhood here, and I think eventually, if we would have had the time, this would have extended out. This would have extended out, and we would have put in a neighborhood here. If we had a neighborhood here, we extended this out here, I think, honestly, maybe if we filled this in a more interesting way, I mean, I don't know, maybe we win, I'm not sure. But I think physically, I don't know if it would have been possible to really do anymore. In fact, I'm kind of like almost a little bit nervous at the idea of ever doing this ever again, just because I feel like the amount of building that we did, and also kind of like the road layout quality that we did, is basically not going to be realistically achievable again. I just don't know how we can go bigger than what we've already gone here. But basically, we have just essentially a big sort of grid suburb here, which is supposed to be the small town here that works the agricultural industry in this area. There is a section of sort of commercial here, followed by, I think, maybe a few offices mixed in there too, schools, parks, things like that. So there's kind of like the classic buffer. You have residential, commercial type stuff, and then you have the agriculture sort of on the other side of the road. We have just a park life park here that we threw together in the final few minutes. I do like the water feature here, though. Simple, it's not quite a dramatic waterfall, but it is kind of just like this kind of makes this little sort of lagoon area here, and it kind of drains off into the river. Where this water is coming from, I don't know, but there you go. I mean, I do know, right? It's coming from a water source using actual landscaping tools, but I mean, like, thematically, in the world, how is this water like flowing this way? I'm, of course, not realistic, but there you go. We ended up just jamming. I like the theme park area here, but because the area that we needed to fill was so big, we just jammed in zoo stuff, and we jammed in city park stuff. It probably would have looked better if we had skipped the zoo stuff, maybe kept like this, the marine life thing just for fun, and done mostly, and kept the Ferris wheel over here, and then filled this in with like other kinds of parks and things like the tennis courts and stuff. I think having the zoo stuff there just doesn't make any sense, but the theme park's kind of cool. The city park with the theme park, I think, kind of worked out. We're just kind of throwing stuff in. I like the fact that we're putting down, again, just kind of like, it's kind of like a secret technique, I guess, is we're using these big, unique buildings that come with industries. These are really cool looking, and again, unique, right? Like, and very unique. I mean, it just looks like you're doing like a heavy detailed industry area at a glance, but we're just kind of dumping down big, large, massive buildings down here to kind of fill space, right? That's just doing a lot of space filling. I really do like, though, the balance here between sort of generic industry and sort of this grove of trees, and kind of we even have some offices mixed in here for administrative and stuff. So I like the mix of offices and industry, and then that's sort of all tucked inside of agriculture, sort of primary processing, some more primary processing, but or gathering, I mean, and then mostly secondary processing, and then sort of the warehouse distribution and stuff like that, and then ultimately kind of rounding out at that train station there for a little bit of infrastructure. We do have, like we have this train station, but then we also have this train station here just for getting people back and forth. Oh, it looks like we actually forgot to overdo a couple of these bits here during the competition. We're going fast, so I guess we didn't fix all of those, but it's fine. Train still works. Using Anarchy to just kind of build over, and we forgot to make it an elevated road because we built that train thing retroactively. This is kind of a nice neighborhood again, just kind of a rural neighborhood. This is meant to connect the two communities because this is one city that's agricultural based, and this is one city that's either the downtown sort of tech based, but then also does exist as a forestry community too. So maybe these guys are working in the forestry area. But I really like, I just like how this neighborhood sat. I like the filling the park. This park's a little bit better. It's not good. Again, we built this in this is like 2 minutes of just plopping down buildings. None of this is meant to look spectacular, but it's meant to sort of hit a checkbox and to say, hey, look, we did a nature park. Hey, look, we did a fully fleshed out industrial park, which I think actually has good road networking. And I think the building balance here is actually pretty decent. Again, primary generation, secondary processing, and then sort of exportation over here. I'm throwing down the big building just to give it a little bit of a dynamic nature. I think there's also a furniture factory over here. Yeah. And then we have sort of the downtown area on the water here on this lake, which, you know, just a couple unique buildings to kind of just give it a pop. With Expo Center, the High Interest Tower, London Eye, and the Eden Project. We got the Chirper up here on the cliff. And I think I don't know. I think this downtown area actually looks really good, kind of gridding up this sort of commercial area, going a little bit more with the land, curves with the land for the residential sections, more on the water, and then sort of tucking back the shopping and commercial and office area back here. A little bit of sort of plateau housing out here, or ridged housing out here, which we could have technically expanded that out. Like if that had been expanded out, maybe if this had gone all the way around the lake, that kind of housing pattern, like 3 or 4 layers deep just on that sharp ridge. I mean, I think over here it's a little bit too rocky to even consider it, but out to there would have at least kind of sealed that off a bit more. Maybe that would have helped. But yeah, I think ultimately it would have made sense to fill the space. There would have been obviously no way to fill all of the space, but if we could have filled this space and maybe sort of rounded this out in a different way, that would have made it so that we could have filled like maybe a thinner but longer section here. Like if this road, instead of this road, we created this country road here just for fun kind of, but if we had sort of bent that more this way and then just filled that, the whole thing would have probably looked more completed. But I think honestly, I'm really, really happy with this build. 2 hours to build this. I don't know. I think it's quite great. How many blocks are we talking here? Of course, these aren't fully filled, right? But sort of, I mean, basically, I would say, I'm not going to count some of these, but I mean, this is a 6-tile city, kind of, right? Like the consideration, the design itself is sort of like designed for 6 tiles, and then we did a little bit of work outside the 6 tiles. Obviously, this tile wasn't a very intense tile, but I'm just saying. And the funny thing is, the city's almost making money. Like, we just slapped this down in 2 hours. We didn't even think about any kind of micromanagement, any budgeting. I could flip this around in a jiffy. We could actually make the city successful in a jiffy. But if we go to traffic, it's actually not too bad. I know it's a small city, so 25,000 pop, you shouldn't have any traffic. But considering the egregious 4-way intersections that we have here, just the blatant 4-way intersections that we have here, I mean, there might even be stoplights still in some of these areas. You know what I mean? Just the blatant 4-way intersections that we have 85, 86, 87% traffic. This is something that we have a stoplight here. We could just get rid of. These people are just trying to turn right. All these people are backed up just trying to turn right. We could easily disable the stoplight here and just let them go forever. We could easily do lane manager here to force both lanes to be functional there. We could easily work this system and fix this in like 2 seconds, but there you go. So it's still 85% traffic. It's actually decent, and it's I think this is, I mean, it's by far the largest city that we've ever made in 2 hours, partly because we just went with the flow of the land. We still did some terraforming for a little bit of water emphasis and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. This was, again, this was a competition that we did on the Twitch channel. There's going to be more of these over in the Cities Skylines Twitch community. This one had Azili, Imperial Jedi, and Jim all competing with myself in a 2-hour speed build. It was actually like a lot of fun. And actually, everybody did incredibly awesome builds. It was actually by far I think the stiffest competition between the builds, the most sort of like hard to choose between them that it's ever been in the previous competitions. So it was some really really good competition, and thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.